Welcome to Upkapp. In this video we will talk about tasks and jobs based on counters instead of dates. Counters are ways to control the use of something that is not necessarily related to dates. For example, maintenance every 10,000 miles or 10,000 kilometers of a car, or every 100 hours of use of an engine or machine, every 25 times you turned on a piece of equipment, or every 10 visits from a technician, and so on. I will show you how to set up this counter in the system and how to update this count so that tasks are prioritized at the right time, automatically, just like we do with date-based ones. To control a job by counter, the first thing you need is to create a counter, and we will do that now. Click on Counter in the menu and on New Counter. Here we are going to fill in this information. Let's give a name to the counter, for example, Truck 1. Let's enter the current value of the truck's counter. It could be its current mileage, for example. Let's fill in the maximum possible value. What does that mean? Imagine that the limit of your truck's odometer counter is 999,999. After that, it resets, goes back to 0 again. Enter this number here for the system to understand and handle this limit. Write down the unit of measurement for this counter to make it easier to visualize. For example, kilometers or miles. And define how often you want the system to notify you to update this counter. These counters need to be updated manually, periodically. If you have a system that can use our API to perform this update automatically, contact our team so we can enable this option for you. We saved and created a counter. Let's take advantage of the fact that I'm here and show you how to update this counter in 5 seconds. You just need to click on the counter. Type a new number and you have 2 options. Either you type the new counter value and click set, the new counter value will be the value you typed, or you type a value and click add. And in this case, it will add the entered value to the current counter. Just confirm and that's it. Your counter is updated and the system will already calculate if any activity that depends on this counter now needs your attention. You don't need to do anything. Just look at your automatically prioritized activity list, as always. With the counter created, now let's create a job based on this counter. Since we already have a video about registering a job controlled by date, where we talk about each available configuration, in this video we will focus only on what is different when we create an activity by counter. So, I recommend that you watch the video on date controlled jobs, and also the video that provides an overview of the system, which is very important. Let's create a job called oil change. And now we come to the first difference, which is the frequency setting. Here we will choose counter. Note that for the same job, you could control by counter and by date at the same time. In this way, the system will consider what happens first to enable create an activity. For example, a car that needs a service every 10,000 kilometers or 12 months, whichever comes first. But for this example, let's use only the counter. Choose counter for the frequency. Below, you will select which counter will be used. It can be the one we just created. Below, we have 2 fields, the initial counter, where you indicate the counter value where the next activity will occur. I will enter, for example, 10,000 kilometers, which is when I need to do the next oil change. And the next field is how many kilometers apart I need this activity to repeat. Let's say I want to change the oil every 12,000 kilometers. What will happen here is that we will change it at 10,000 kilometers, then at 22,000, if all goes well. We have the end configuration, which we already know. The next status configuration. Here we will set how many kilometers before the required activity mark I want the system to notify me that the change is near. This is so I can plan. So I want, for example, this activity to have the status upcoming 500 kilometers before. Then we have the same settings for behavior, cost and instructions that work the same way as the jobs by date. It's worth noting here that, in this case, dynamic calculation makes sense to me, since new oil lasts 12,000 kilometres, regardless of the previous one. This means that if I change the oil in my vehicle at 10,500 kilometres instead of 10,000 as scheduled, the next change only needs to be done 12,000 kilometres later, that is, at 22,500 kilometres. The system will calculate this automatically without me having to worry. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to watch the other videos and start using the system to improve your business.